Fresh Start Worlds was a week and a half done by the time I got back from my trip. The Challenger's halo was rapidly escaping my grasp, and I had to make up time on the leaderboards fast. This is where Tom Baskin will join us. Together, we will climb our way to the top of the high scores with one goal in mind: obtain a Challenger's halo. And now, our story begins. The first thing I did was adjust my settings. RuneScape has a ton of different customization options, which is great, but it's really overwhelming for a new player. I started by turning off some unnecessary world broadcasts such as demon flash mobs. Then I adjusted my interface, turned on slim headers, added some more action bars, and a bunch of other changes. While I went through my settings, I also finished the Birthorpe tutorial and unlocked daily challenges. The tutorial helped with basic starting levels, and daily challenges will be useful later on. Next, I traveled south through Taverley and took the boat to Daemonheim to get a Ring of Kinship. The Ring of Kinship is one of 4 starter skilling teleports that I suggest gathering. The others are the Wicked Hood, which will get you to Runespan to train runecrafting. I grabbed that in Birthorpe earlier. Then there's a Clan Vex, which takes you south of Falador, which is close to the Artisan's Workshop. And then the final item is the Archaeology Journal, which helps you get to all of the archaeology sites pretty quickly. After picking up my ring, I traveled to Runespan with my Wicked Hood to begin unlocking Law and Cosmic runes, which I need for teleports when I start Dungeoneering. In Runespan, I harvest directly from the nodes more than the creatures because they give higher experience, so I just grab Essence instead and keep refreshing on the nodes whenever I can. Eventually, I got level 27, which unlocks Cosmic runes. I'll need level 54 for Law runes later, but for now, it was time to do Divination Cache. Cache is a good way to get div levels, but it takes a while at low levels. The easiest way to get points is knocking out the crest bots, but as you'll see here, it's hard with the world so packed, so there's a lot of competition. So I'd recommend using something called Dungeoneering Divination instead. Dungeoneering Divination gives about 300,000 experience per hour at level 50, and it scales much higher as you level up, capping around 2 mil XP per hour. It requires unlocking the Elder Sword engram at the Memorial to Guthix, which then quadruples divination experience when converting memories in Dungeoneering. So the first step is to get 100 memory strands from training regular divination. I do this while gathering 500 pale energy and 400 flickering energy because those are needed to charge the engrams. After you have the strands and energy, teleport to the Memorial of Guthix by right-clicking teleport on the strands in your currency pouch. Do the tutorial and then charge the first engram with pale energy, then teleport to Void Knight Outpost and pick up the Elder Sword engram from the barrel southeast on the island. Charge that one and then set it as your active one, and at that point you'll teleport to Dungeoneering. I suggest buying the 25% gathering experience increase boost from the shop, and then also you have a ring that you can upgrade to the gathering skill on, and I'd highly suggest doing that so you get additional memories when you harvest. Now that you're set up, whenever you're doing a Dungeoneering floor and come across one of your 2 or 3 highest wisps, you should harvest it. If you group up with other people, you can all click the same wisp and extend the duration much longer, which will give you more consistent experience per hour. If you want to increase your XP even more, I suggest clicking the spring every 2 ticks. A good way to measure this is click every time you get an XP drop. Once you've harvested all the wisps, deposit them at base. Make sure the energy rift is toggled to convert energy and memories into experience. Also, be careful not to log out or else you'll lose all the memories you've gathered. If you've completed the medium Dungeoneering task set, you can bind a strong gatherer's potion. Then, if you find a wisp that's above your level, you can use the potion to harvest and deposit it. That'll give you a really high experience rate for your level. For example, in this clip, I'm depositing Radiant Wisps, even though I'm only level 84 Divination. I'll be training Dungeoneering Divination for a few reasons. One, I want to get level 80 in order to unlock Invention and get the Dungeoneering outfit. And two, I will be able to get portents in the floor. They let you bypass skill doors with up to like 20 more levels, so that'll help me open a lot of bonus paths and get more experience when I'm Dungeoneering. Also, it's just helpful to have higher levels in general when you're Dungeoneering because it makes it easier to open more rooms. There are a number of other skills that are very efficient to train in Dungeoneering, including fishing and woodcutting. However, they don't give you quite as high experience as Divination just because the resources run out faster than the wisps do. However, if you have the time, I definitely suggest gathering those too. Even cooking the products or fletching the logs, fire making with the logs, it's a great way to get free experience. Another method I'll be doing is something called Dungeoneering Crafting. For Dungeoneering Crafting, you collect coins from the first few rooms in a dungeon. The monsters there drop most of the wealth in the floor. Then at base, you can buy hides from the shopkeeper and craft them into bodies, which gives about 200 experience per body that you make with these increased experience rates. And then you can sell them back, buy more, and just repeat that process. The puzzles and doors can also give you a lot of great experience. For example, this puzzle right here is great to do for mining and construction levels. I'll actually be getting a lot of my starter levels through the different doors and puzzles at the beginning because the experience rates are just so high compared to regular in-game methods. And then once I'm higher level, I'll go out into the regular world and train those better methods from there. It can be helpful to get the first 10 levels or so in the regular world though, because then you'll get much higher experience at the doors as you encounter them. So I went to the circus and I got some agility levels early on. After that, I headed to Varrock and completed the archaeology tutorial. That gave me the Fawn of Life, which boosts my hit points, so it'll be a little bit harder to die in Dungeoneering. That's important because when you die, you lose a lot of experience in a floor. Next, I walked a few steps north and took the boat to the land out of time.
The dragon told me the voyage would be treacherous.
This doesn't have any direct Dungeoneering improvements, but the base camp takes a long time to unlock, so I'd like to get it started early, in case it'll help me later on in the journey. Finally, it was time for me to start Dungeoneering. I began solo, unlocking complexities and leveling divination along the way. I hit 54 divination and 68 Dungeoneering and decided it was time to upgrade my combat stats. I grabbed a Challenger's Lance and prepared for the next stage of my journey. One of the biggest contributors to time in Dungeoneering floors is how quickly Guardian rooms are cleared. My tier 1 staff wasn't going to cut it. I killed trolls in the caves north of Berthorpe until a level 40 magic and ranged. Then I met up with my friend, Skirp SSW, to get to the higher levels. We used a method called ED3 Trash Mobs, which means we cleared the entry monsters for Elite Dungeons 3, then reset the dungeon and repeated. This method gives millions of experience per hour, so I got 99 in no time. The method is okay solo, but it's considerably better in groups of 3. You set up the group using the grouping system, invite your friends, then change the group to Elite Dungeons and have everyone ready up. As the leader, you enter and start a new session, and then you all go through the dungeon making sure to tag each monster for an XP drop. There are a couple of options where to go. Earlier on, we stopped at the sea horrors and let them kill us so we'd be placed back outside with restored health and prayer. It's important that you only have a few items to do this so you aren't sent to Death's office. Then once we had higher levels and could survive longer, we went all the way to the first plank crossing, at which point we teleport to War's Retreat, restore our health, and then reform the group and go again. There's also a mini-boss called Honto that can be nice to kill. It's possible to safe spot him if you tag him and then surge to this spot. It's important that you stay out of melee distance after that, or else he'll start attacking again. If you swap combat styles from magic to ranged halfway through the kill, you'll also get double the experience. Another bonus besides 100 to 200k experience per kill is 5k Dungeoneering tokens, which is very helpful early on. Now that I had 99 ranged, I could use my Sagittarian shortbow, which I picked up earlier in floors. This is the best in slot weapon for Dungeoneering when combined with the Desperado ring upgrade, but it's important to have a magic switch also for the best DPS. The next upgrade I need is the medium Dungeoneering achievements. The medium achievements provide you with law and cosmic runes for teleports, which saves you making runes at the start of a floor. The achievements aren't too bad, but I was missing a number of the level requirements for them. I started off with farming because it's time locked. I used a method called beehives to get the levels. First, you buy woad leaves from the farmer in Falador. Then you add insect repellent from Catherby to your tool belt. And then you fill beehives on Manor Farm with the woad leaves. And finally, harvest them a day later, and then fill them up again. I got 40 farming in no time with this method, and then pushed all the way to farming chins for later gains. The next skill I needed was Hunter. I started off feeding ogler roots to rabbits on Winkin's farm, then I caught birds in Uglog for the rest of the levels. After Hunter, I moved on to thieving. I completed the Thieves Guild mini-quests, but quickly realized the doors were not a viable method, as they were packed on every world. Instead, I found this spot in Lumbridge Marketplace where I could spam click between the baking and produce stalls to boost to level 40. Herblore was incredibly expensive, so I opted to get 36 using warbands. I also added in Herbie Werby to help push me higher. It's important to only yoink herbs and Herbie Werby and not burn them, or else you'll end up with fire making XP instead of Herblore for some of your points. The last skill I needed to grind out was fletching. I discovered that making headless arrows was a few million GP per hour, so I gathered a few thousand feathers from local shops, bought the arrow shafts on the GE, and then turned them into headless arrows for pretty good experience and great GP. I finished the easy task set, but decided to take a break and make some more gold. I'm keeping my account at level 2 defense because lower defense levels spawn easier monsters in Dungeoneering. The downside of this is it makes PvM more difficult. However, due to the stat restore buff, I came up with a revolution bar and prayer setup that allowed me to AFK Zero Mechanic Arc Glacier. It drops decent alcohols and skilling supplies, as well as crystal keys. After some experimentation, I determined it was possible to buy crystal keys for only 2k more than Dragonstone sold for. I made a ton of GP with this and was able to afford a double surge ability codex. I went to Anachronia to set the delay timer between surges to a single tick at the lectern. This will be a huge upgrade for Dungeoneering because it allows me to move between rooms a lot faster. I traveled back to finish the medium Dungeoneering achievement set. The most frustrating task is the Frost Dragon task, because it requires RNG to spawn a dragon in a solo dungeon. Because I'm low level, the odds of finding a dragon are drastically decreased. Jagex should revise the Frost Dragon task and the Portent of Passage task to be more player friendly, and less based on RNG. Eventually, I found the dragon and was able to check off the task. I grabbed my reward and was ready to DG with my pals. Dungeoneering has an unfortunate mechanic where it punishes people who aren't maxed when training the skill. All of the critical doors scale to a player's highest level, and bonus doors can be impossible for people to complete. My team's method to avoid the hassle of moving the group teleport all over the map was something we call 5-1 Dungeoneering. Basically, we take a level 3 alt with us and set the party difficulty to a single player. This makes all of the monsters have 100 life points and all of the critical doors require level 1. The floor experience is about 30% lower compared to 5-5 floors, but the floor times are much faster, so it comes out ahead. Once you have groups with higher skill levels, 5-5 floors are better to do. We did some DG divination together and blasted through my floors. Before long, I was halfway to 99 DG. I decided to take a break and make some more GP. This time, I went to Frost Dragons and collected their bones. The bones were selling for 25 to 30k each, so I was easily making 5 mil plus GP per hour with a deposit box. I snagged a bond for the next week and went back to the DG grind. I quickly made my way through the ranks on the high scores and snuck into the top 100. The halo was within reach, but there was over a month left for people to steal it from me. I needed more unlocks to improve my speed, and clever choices to stay ahead of the competition with my busy schedule. Unlike most people, I'll be buying an extremely large number of these capes. Why? Crafting XP. 99 capes high out for 59.4k coins. When you bring them into Dungeoneering, they high out for 59.4k rusty coins. Rusty coins can be used to purchase Protomastix hides for 420 GP each. 5 hides can be turned into a body, which gives 250 XP each with the current boost. Once a body is made, you can sell it back for 420 GP and get another hide. It's also possible to save hides using the Artisan's Ring upgrade and the hide saving scroll from the Dungeoneering reward shop. In the end, this works out to almost 1 million XP per hour, and is accessible from level 9 crafting. It falls right below cutting diamonds, but it's significantly cheaper than diamonds currently are in Fresh Start worlds. I suggest starting the floor with about 20 capes and loading out nothing but a staff. Craft some nature runes at the start and finish a small rush floor while you alch the capes. After that, buy thread and hides from the shop and start crafting. Sell all the bodies and then click the hides from your action bar to automatically open the crafting interface again. Once you run out of hides, buy more with the GP and repeat until you can't make any more bodies. Finish the dungeon, leave, and start again with more capes in your inventory. You can also do this method for free if you just kill monsters in the first 2 rooms and pick up their coins and sell them. It'll be slower than alching the capes, but it's good crafting experience and it saves you a lot of GP. I did this until 80 crafting, which is one of the requirements to unlock invention. Invention will be important for me as it provides the warped Dungeoneering outfit, which gives an XP and token boost among other perks. After 80 crafting, I headed into the desert to unlock 2 other useful abilities. I'll be playing a minigame called Anima Islands. You hop between 4 different islands and perform tasks to earn anima. At the end of each game, you get up to 1,000 currency, which is used to purchase cosmetics and upgrades. I purchased the Sacrifice ability and Tuska's Wrath ability. Sacrifice heals you when you deal damage, and Tuska's Wrath deals an increased hit on Slayer targets. The bigger benefit for me is that their hit registers 1 tick faster on targets compared to most normal abilities. I can use either ability to finish off the last monster in a Guardian room, and click to open the next room 1 tick sooner. If I do the same thing with a regular ability, the damage will be cancelled and the monster will stay alive. The minigame also gives some experience in skills such as agility, hunter, and fire making, which can be helpful at lower levels. Abilities in hand, I continued to level up Dungeoneering. I acquired the best in slot staff, but couldn't use it, so I went back to Elite Dungeons to get some quick combat levels. I finished off 99 magic, hit points, and strength in minutes, and I also snagged the attack pet for safekeeping. Now that I had 99 strength and magic, I'd be able to complete a lot more puzzles and doors in DG. The more stats I can get up, the better, so I teamed up with friends to do some divination. After making sure they subscribed, I got 94 divination and moved on to regular large floors for Dungeoneering XP. There's a friend's chat, I Want Cookie A, that is geared towards team forming for DG in Fresh Start Worlds. There are lots of friendly people there, and I had a great time doing floors with them. We used Team XP cards during our higher floors to get significantly boosted XP. You'll see I'm getting over 500k per floor for some of my warps. The two cards that give XP boosts are Thieving Locust and Preening Ibis. Cards are purchased from the Elite Dungeoneering reward shop next to the DG reward shop. After a long DG session, I finished off with 110 DG. I'm making great progress, but I still have many millions of XP to go to stand a chance of securing a Challenger's Halo. Luckily, I stumbled upon a genius method using archaeology and the new Wilderness event rewards. Wilderness events introduced Necronium salvage to the game. The various salvage out for roughly 100k to 400k GP each, and people haven't caught on yet. I managed to buy hundreds of salvage for 10k to 100k under their high alch prices. However, standing around and alching in the bank for minimal XP is not my idea of a good time. I had to find a more efficient method. Enter Archaeology. You can place the High Alchemy spell on your action bar and use a keybind to cast it to items in your inventory. If you do this while excavating a hotspot, your player will cast the spell losslessly, giving you full Archaeology XP and gold at the same time. It's important to only cast the spell every other time you harvest from an excavation hotspot, or else the alchemy spell will interrupt your excavation. This works at other locations too, such as mining the Chaos Star, but I chose to do it with Archaeology because Archaeology gives a ton of useful relics for Dungeoneering, such as Shadow's Grace, which lets you surge twice as often. Soon I had enough GP to begin smithing, but with the race for top 100 getting tighter, I had to get the levels fast. For earlier levels, I made rune arrowheads, which is good GP but rather slow XP. They weren't going to cut it if I wanted to reach 80. Faster options included upgrading gear or doing burial items. I experimented with the price of bars and smithing items on the GE, and determined the cost to go from a +3 to +4 Necronium item. For example, let's say a +3 plate body costs 300k and a +4 plate body sells for 400k. Then the bars are 15k each. The cost to upgrade would be 400k GP from selling that +4 body, minus 300k from buying the +3 body, then minus another 40 times 15k for the bars that you purchase. So all in all, it costs 500k GP for 20k base XP. Burial Armor gives the same XP as going from a +3 to +4 Necronium item, but it's also twice as fast. In this instance, it's cheaper to buy the +4 plate body and sacrifice it for XP than to upgrade from +3 to +4. I managed to secure enough burial bodies for 80 smithing and unlocked invention in minutes. After the tutorial, I began training invention by disassembling items. The armor shops in Varrock provided some decent armor to disassemble for a low price, but the stock ran out and I needed a better method. A friend of mine suggested making divine charges. Disassembling U-logs for simple components, buying energy from the GE, and making divine charges was slight profit, so I did this until level 15. Then I purchased a super invention potion and boosted to complete higher level blueprints. With level 20, I was able to craft the Warp Dungeoneering outfit. The outfit provides 3 very important effects. The first is a 7% bonus to floor XP and tokens, which is a huge boost for my last 150 million XP. The second is the ability to skip a puzzle each floor. That will help me navigate some of the level blocks and floors and get a higher completion percentage for higher XP. The final important boost is a 7% discount in the reward shop. The reward shop boost is critical because it allows me to buy 7% more cards. Cards multiply your floor XP up to 3 times and are purchased from the Elite Dungeons reward shop right next to the regular reward trader. Team cards are 15k tokens each, help the whole party, and can stack boosts, while solo cards are 5k tokens each, only help you, and do not stack with each other. If you have 4 friends to DG with, it's cheaper and better XP to all buy and share team cards. There are 6 primary cards you want to collect. The first is the Preening Ibis. It multiplies your floor XP by 1.5 times. Then there's the Thieving Locust card, which multiplies your floor XP by 2. The Cloning Mosquito card, which doubles your tokens from the floor. The Whimsical Bunyip card, which doubles your tokens about 90% of the time, which is a bug. The Beguiling Smoke Devil card, which allows you to open any skill door regardless of level. This is a really good card to have in Fresh Start Worlds because no one's maxed, but in the regular world, most people are maxed for DGing, so it's not as helpful. The final important card is the Dungeoneering Wild card. This multiplies base floor XP and tokens by 1.5 times. It must be used after the XP cards in order to stack with them, and it can only be used with team cards. On double XP weekend, it's possible to use this card by activating it, then unpausing your timer, otherwise you can't activate it. In Fresh Start Worlds, there were no restrictions, so you could use it whenever. Now to explain the 2 million XP floors. First, I did the floor as a 1-1 solo, which gives a 20% base XP buff compared to regular 5-man floors. Then, I activated a Team Preening Ibis and Thieving Locust card and the Dungeoneering Wild card right after. The card boosts add together to give 3 times the base floor XP, which is then further multiplied by 1.07 for the outfit. Next, the Fresh Start Worlds modifier is added to the outfit to give a bonus multiplier of 2.57 times. I'm not sure why the outfit is applied again here, but it is. In the end, this combos to give a base floor multiplier of 3 times 1.07 times 2.57, which comes out to approximately 8.25 times base floor experience and gives a fat XP drop. While this is a fun method and gives you some great screenshots, I would recommend doing what I did for the rest of the floors instead to conserve XP cards. I recruited a group of players to do 5 carded floors in a row. Each player would fully card 1 floor with XP cards, a Smoke Devil, and tokens. This reduces the cost of a team card to 3k tokens, which is even cheaper than a solo card, and it allows you to get the benefit of both XP cards at once. It might not seem like much, but it allows you to card 40% more floors, which is absolutely massive. The percentage is even higher when you include the token benefits. This is the single largest advantage that allowed me to pull ahead of the competition. It's possible to card every single large floor you do as a high level and never run out of tokens. The key is a team you can rely on, and I had that. I teamed up with Dungeoneering Legends and we powered through floors, carding them all. Before long, I hit level 119, but others were catching on to my methods and I could hardly keep up with my limited playtime. I still have one trick up my sleeve to bring home the halo. At this point, most players had figured out a version of that method. What they hadn't figured out was the value of 5-1 larges. I touched on this method briefly in episode 2, but never explained its full potential. 5-1 floors are floors with 4 DGers and 1 level 3 alt. Instead of selecting a party size of 5 like you do normally, you set the difficulty to 1 person. This makes every monster level 3 and all critical doors level 1, making the dungeon very easy to complete. The downside is it decreases the floor XP, but only so much. Let's take a look at it. The experience you get from a floor depends on many factors. The biggest component is the base XP. Base XP is calculated as the average of that specific floor XP and your overall prestige XP. The prestige number comes from either your previous or current prestige, whichever is higher, and it's why you need to complete all of your floors before you reset. If you do a floor from a theme you've already completed, then the value for the prestige XP is set to 0. For example, in this floor, I had already completed all my warp floors, so the prestige XP was set to 0. You'll notice the difference between the base XP for a 5-1 and 5-5 floor is only about 4%. This doesn't have a huge effect on the final XP. What does matter is the floor modifiers. If you look closely, you'll see that a difficulty modifier is minus 20% for 5-1 and plus 20% for 5-5. That's a massive difference and would make 5-1 useless, except for the next modifier, level mod. Level mod is based on how many monsters and resources are cleared during a floor. It caps at plus 10% and is typically around minus 10% for a normally completed floor. Because you're doing 5-1 floors with a level 3, all of the monsters scale to level 3 difficulty, which makes them one-hittable. This is how we made the 5-1 strategy viable. Every time we entered a new room, we would quickly kill every monster in it while running to the next room. This hardly slows down the floor, and it boosts your level mod from negative 10% to positive 10%. When all the calculations go through, this sets 5-1 at about 20% less XP than 5-5, assuming you properly clear monsters. Your chance of death goes to basically 0 while doing 5-1, and there's a lot less thought that needs to go into clearing floors, so it makes it easier to finish a large number of floors in a row. Additionally, the guardian rooms are much faster than 5-5 floors, which saves you a ton of time. Based on a large sample size of floors, 5-1 floors were approximately 25 to 30% faster for top-tier DGers compared to 5-5 floors. When you look at inexperienced DGers who have slower DPS, that number gets even bigger. It's not all perfect though. One consideration we had to look at was token consumption rates with cards. As we discussed before, it's possible to team card every single occult and warp floor with a group of 5 high-level DGers and never run out of tokens. When you're doing 5-1 floors, you get about 20% less tokens. So was this still viable? The short answer is, sort of. With 5 players full carding every single floor, you need to get a base amount of 13k tokens per floor on average, which are then doubled by your mosquito card. When you add in C6 rushes, that can be comfortably sustained by a group of level 120 players. With 5-1 floors, you don't quite hit enough tokens to do that. There are a few options. The easiest tactic is to only token card your lowest occult floors because both Bunyip and Mosquitoes work as token cards, meaning you can have twice the number of token cards compared to XP cards so it can burn extras. This is an okay fix, but it will net you lower XP rates. Another option is to do your very highest floors as 5-5 instead of 5-1. Your highest floors give the highest XP and tokens, so swapping them to 5-5 is slightly better from a token sustaining perspective. You can also token card your higher rush floors to get a small boost. Based on these findings, the best floor combination looks something like this. Token skip floors 1 to 10. That'll take no time and cost about 40k tokens. Then do a C6 guide mode rush from floors 11 to 35 with token cards. That'll take about 30 minutes and give you about 300k base XP and 60k tokens with those cards. Then, from floors 36 to 51, do 5-1 larges with a full card set. That'll take about 1 hour, give 1.6 mil base XP and 320k tokens. Finally, from floors 52 to 60, we'll do 5-5 larges with another full card set. That'll also take about 1 hour and give you 1.4 mil base XP and 280k tokens. In the end, that comes out to just under 13k tokens per floor, so it's pretty sustainable, and you'll also get 3.3 mil base XP in about 2.5 hours. It's important to note that this only works at level 120, and will need to be adjusted for lower levels. For lower levels, don't token card rushes and don't XP card your lower occults until you find a happy balance. Luckily, my group had surplus tokens, so we didn't need to worry too much about this, and carded everything. With the 2.5 times modifier, the method came out to over 10 million Dungeoneering XP per hour, including rushes. There is one catch to this method. You need 4 reliable friends to join you along the way. It's hard to find reliable friends in RuneScape these days. Luckily, I also don't have many friends and could use some help. Make sure to hit the subscribe button to join the team and learn exciting methods to grow your account while I grow my channel. I appreciate the support and can't wait to deliver more unique content in the future. So anyways, now I have the strategy set up to get the highest XP rates possible and blast ahead to secure my rank before the competition period ends. However, one important detail I've only glossed over so far is how to actually complete a Dungeoneering floor. If you've watched any of the World Cup matches recently, I'm sure you've picked up the basic strategy they deploy on the field. Players spread out and pass the ball back and forth until they get to their goal. Dungeoneering is weirdly similar to this. Each group has a captain, the leader of the team who holds the group gatestone. The job of this person is to follow the critical path to the boss. I made a guide on this, but it's an advanced topic that takes a lot of practice to really understand. Luckily, Jagex made a feature called Guide Mode that you can turn on to highlight the path on your map. If you're an inexperienced group, I suggest turning this on and taking a 5% XP hit in exchange for the critical path being highlighted. During the floor, the captain will carry the group gatestone down the critical path to the boss. The group gatestone is a rock that all team members can teleport to using their spellbook. Meanwhile, the teammates should do the exact opposite of the host. The role of the other 4 players is to open all of the other paths that show up on the map that aren't critical. The amount of players you want on each side path depends on how big it looks. If it's heading into a wall, it likely won't last long, so 1 player is fine. Otherwise, you'll usually want 2 players to take it on. When you're on a side path, complete all the rooms you can on it and gate any key blocks that occur. You gate a path by casting the Create Gatestone spell in your spellbook and dropping the stone it makes to the ground. You can teleport back to the spot using the Personal Gatestone teleport in your spellbook. After that, teleport to the group gatestone and help your leader continue pushing that path. If another side path shows up, complete it the same way you did your previous path. Make sure to finish your old path when the key you need shows up so you get your personal gatestone back and can use it on another side path. This is the most effective strategy to complete a floor. The hard part is coordinating it with your team to make sure all of the bonus paths are properly covered with gates. A good rule of thumb is that a gatestone can cover most doors within 4 rooms fairly well. Also, your home teleport spell works as a gatestone for all the rooms around base. When you encounter a key block in a bonus path and drop your gate, call it out so your team knows that you've got that door covered. If you're not using voice chat, a good method to do this is right-clicking the door and examining it to call the key door in the chat. That signals to your teammates that you've dropped a gate at the door. If you need to gate another door but don't have any gates left, let your teammates know so they can cover that door for you from one of their gates. Since gates can reasonably cover doors within 4 rooms, typically someone can run your door from nearby or vice versa. If that's not possible, then keep your old gate and have someone cover your new location instead. This is a complicated topic and requires more detail than I'll go into right now, but I'll create a guide in the future that should provide even more insight into how this works. For now, remember the basic strategy. The host follows the critical path that you can highlight with guide mode until they reach the boss. Meanwhile, the other party members take care of the side paths and gate any key blocks they encounter. Finally, there are a few important callouts between you and your teammates. The most important call to pay attention to is MGT. MGT stands for Move Group Teleport. When the host calls this and says someone's name, that means that person should drop a personal gatestone, teleport to the group gatestone, pick it up, teleport back to their location, and drop the group gatestone. This will allow other players to get to your location and help out. Other important calls to watch are things like GT levers, GT emotes, or GT portals. These calls mean come do levers, emotes, or portals with the team. Drop a gatestone where you are and teleport to the group to help with the puzzle. After the puzzle is done, you can head back to your old location. For puzzles, I suggest reading through the wiki to get an understanding of them. There aren't any outstanding guides on them yet, but I'll try to provide that resource in the future. Usually, you'll only want to save puzzle skips for emotes, barrels on the critical path, monos on the critical path, and ghosts on the critical path, as they really slow down the party. As the floor gets closer to completion, it's okay to use skips on faster puzzles too. With practice, Dungeoneering is actually one of the fastest skills in the game, and can be really enjoyable once you understand what to do. I suggest everyone try it out before writing it off as a treasure hunter lamp sink. I was absolutely blazing through floors now. We even got the world record for the fastest full 5-1 large in Fresh Start Worlds, a 2-minute, 59-second warp. The XP drops were piling up and my friends were knocking out 120s and 200 mils. I hit 150 million XP the day after 120 and saw the halo fast approaching. After another day and a half, Tom was almost there. Unfortunately, there was one race left. This time, it was a battle of wills, a battle of endurance, to see who could be the most patient. With ranks 1 to 66 locked in at 200 mil XP, it was between me, Herfinskill, and Miri to secure the coveted rank 69. Eventually, Herfinskill folded after trying to extort me for copious amounts of wealth, and it was between me and Miri. The next thing I knew, Spot 68 was claimed by Miri with no broadcast. I acted fast and purchased my final XP, a small token to end a massive journey. $200 mil was locked in. The Challenger Halo was mine. Rank 69, Tom Baskin. We did it. But my journey is far from over. I headed to Drainer and finished off 99 Divination, but couldn't buy the cape because I was out of GP. After securing some funds, I returned and began to pick up all my capes and tokens across the world. Magic, ranged, strength, hit points, divination, dungeoneering, Newton, Sparky, and Sifu. And finally, the Challenger Halo. I didn't stop here. Tom Baskin's ambitions have turned somewhere else, somewhere even greater. Those of you who follow me closely may have noticed my stats have continued to creep up after 200 mil dungeoneering. I even caved and trained defense. There's a striking similarity between my stats and those required for the quest cape. But that's a story for another series. Oh yeah, and one more thing. Thanks Jagex, and thank you all for watching. It's been a blast making this series, and I can't wait to see what happens next.